In the last video, we looked at building a frequency table and a relative frequency table in Excel. Largely that's done to summarize the data in a qualitative data or qualitative variable. Summarize it, make it more interpretable instead of looking through the big long list of states here. We can have it summarized for us in a table. We might want to go one more step and take that into a visual. And so how do we visualize qualitative variables in this sense? Well, there's a couple quick and easy methods, and we'll walk through those here. So we're going to look at bar charts and pie charts. And so in Excel, Excel has ready to go bar charts and pie charts. Now you do need to work with the frequency table. So if you go directly to your data here and try to insert a bar chart, which is up here in the insert and then in the charts, if you go ahead and try to insert a bar chart, you're going to get a whole heck of nothing here. So instead, what we want to do is grab our frequency table. So if I go ahead and highlight the data here, and we'll look at that you don't necessarily need to start with that. But if I grab the data, so I want the state and the customers. If I then go and pop into my insert charts here, and there you go. That's probably what you were expecting to see. And if we click OK on that or click into it, we have a bar chart. Now, of course, we'll want to play around with it. It's maybe not in its final form. We'll want to so whenever you're playing with figures or charts in Excel, there's often a little plus sign here, and you can add in things directly here. There are other ways to add to the chart, but this is often the quickest way. So we would want to add axis titles, and then whenever there's text, we can usually double click here, go into it, and rename it. So we would want state or home state of customer, and something like number of customers. Trying to read sideways. Customers by state. But now we're pretty close to done, and we may want to jazz this up a little bit or help our eyes read a little bit better. We'll talk over in another video some of the tips and tricks as far as some kind of design techniques. I'd probably bring these closer together. We don't need as much white space there. For instance, that's one of the tips. But we can talk more about that in another video. For now, this should help us get up and going and inserting charts. So you don't have to necessarily grab the data. We can, if we right click here, so I've just right clicked inside the cell. I'm gonna choose select data. And the reason for that is I just want you to see the way that Excel kind of outlines or lays out the structure of what's in their charts. So here we can see the horizontal axis labels. We kind of get a feel for what's going to be there, and then along here in the what they refer to as a series is going to be the number of customers. So we could actually just insert a blank chart and then go in there and select our data ourselves, right? And so we're going to want a series. We could give it a name. I don't know if this will actually show up. I don't think the number of customers is going to show up at all, but we can do that. We don't want the total involved. So there we can already see it taking form. And although we do not want 1, 2, 3, 4, we want instead the axis labels to be our states. And there we've gone ahead and recreated it from scratch. So you don't necessarily have to grab the data first. You can kind of build it as you see fit. You can play around with some of these, and we'll talk more about these in the design video. So that's a bar chart. Now we've talked in the past that we don't always. So I'm gonna do a bar chart, but with the relative frequency. So I'm gonna grab this data, and remember, if we want to grab data that's not next to each other, we can hold Control, and so that's gonna allow me to grab the relative frequency as well. Okay, and then I'm gonna go through the same process here and insert a bar chart, and of course it should match. I'll just pull this down. It should look very similar, right? Because it's the same underlying data. This time we've just got it in the percentage form. And as we've talked about, there's various reasons for doing that. Sometimes it's easier for us to understand directly that, oh, this is it's almost 35% of the data, or it's 1/3 of the data is from Minnesota. And again, we can go ahead and bring this back down, and now it'll look very similar. And of course we could add labels and stuff. So that's how we would grab relative frequency. If instead you wanted to show this in a pie chart, let's go back to the original, just the number of the regular frequency table. We can go up, insert, and here we can see the pie. And here's the two-dimensional pie chart. In general, there's not often a good use for a lot of these other ones, but we can do a pie chart directly here, and yeah. So again, here though, now we have a legend on it. That's not always great. Oftentimes, it's easier to see if we have data labels directly in there. So you can add data labels, add data callouts, which are basically a data label. And sometimes if you're doing that, you don't necessarily need the legend. And of course, we can rename the chart title and whatnot. But that's how you go ahead and find pie charts. Same thing. And in fact, interestingly enough, Excel automatically switches it to the percentage. Now note, I grabbed the regular frequency table, but as we talked about in class, pie charts are often a way to showcase the percentages of values from or the percentages of each class within your variable. So Excel has gone ahead and done that directly from the frequency table. So it will look nearly identical if we made it with the relative frequency table. So that's how you find the pie and bar charts in Excel. And yeah.